So we're going to start by discussing something we've already discussed a lot this year, strengthening SIS security with single sign-on. We've talked about single sign-on, OIDC authentication pretty much at every district leader meeting this year. It is one of our top priorities in helping you protect your student data, all your data within your district. As we talk about each meeting, you know, our ever-growing climate in the digital world, cybersecurity attacks happening regularly. Most recently, there was a Canvas incident. So we know these things are happening. And again, it's our goal to help you protect your data. So with that, we've shown some statistics in the past, but today we wanted just to highlight those districts that have enabled OIDC authentication. So you can see our staff user groups. These are the admin user groups. Within our district, 28% of our districts have single sign-on turned on and are currently using it. 21% have the setup complete, meaning they have that redirect URL entered, they have the client ID, secret, all of the setup steps are done. They just haven't checked the box to flip the switch, so to speak. And maybe that's because you're planning to do that this summer. That's a great time to do that. So you can see, yeah, setup complete. And then 51% not enabled yet. So that's our staff admin user group. Within our student user group, a little bit different. There are 41% of our districts have their students using single sign-on. This makes sense to us. If your students are using other applications where they have to use single sign-on, makes sense that you would have them within their PowerSchool accounts do the same thing. Again, 6% of our districts have that setup complete, and then 53% not enabled yet. And lastly, certainly not least, our teacher user group. So within our teacher user group, 34% using single sign-on, 34% of our districts with their teachers using single sign-on, 15% setup complete, and not enabled 51%. So these are the three user groups that we discuss and we talk about when we meet with you about OIDC authentication. You can see pretty similar across all user groups, a little over half not enabled yet. If you haven't talked to us about single sign-on, about OIDC authentication, please make time to meet with us. We would love to talk to you, answer any questions you have. We'll walk through the setup steps, what it looks like. We've worked with many districts so far in getting this set up and going, so we kind of have some tips and tricks that would be helpful in your setup. It is Meta's goal, again, to help you protect your data. So Meta, not just PowerSchool, Meta Progress Book, Infinite Campus, our fiscal teams, all of Meta, we are encouraging our districts in the different departments to enable single sign-on by January 1st. So we really would like to talk to you about it, see how we can help get this up and going for your PowerSchool SIS environments. Submit a ticket to us, we'll be happy to meet. All right. End of year, like we said, the finish line's in sight. Hard to believe this school year has gone by so quick. We have end of year trainings. We want to invite and encourage all of our district leaders. Please register to attend an end of year training session. Our first end of year training session is this afternoon in person for those that are staying. But we also have 2 virtual sessions. So we have a Thursday, May 21st, Tuesday, May 26th, both at 9 a.m. Please, again, attend at least one of those sessions as district leaders and invite those users within your district that are helping with that end of year preparation. So if you have building staff or additional district staff that are helping with that preparation, they're helping you with those checklists, please register them to attend one of these sessions as well. We also have our monthly reminders checklist in the month of May. There's some end of year information out there that we want to remind you to check it out, see what's on that list that you should be looking at this time of year. Your end of year tickets are with one of our core Meta team members. Any questions you have about end of year, that's going to be your line of communication to us. Our Meta core team members, we're going to start communicating with you starting next week regarding where you're at with end of year, what questions you have. We're going to start running those validations pretty soon, and we're going to provide those results to you. If there's any errors, here's what we see, what you'll want to look at. So we're going to start that communication up beginning next week. So again, register to attend and start looking at those checklists. All right, a third-party vendor survey. So this is something that we've done in the past. We know that many districts are using third-party vendors for multiple things: communication, classroom management, student enrollment fees. These are just a few of the many vendors that we know that you are working with. It is our goal to send out a survey to collect information on which vendors you are using. The purpose for this is we want to help support our districts with shared knowledge. So the intent of this survey, once you complete that, we will be sharing the results out to all the district leaders. So as you are having internal conversations in your districts about different vendors you may want to use, you can see other districts who may be using those vendors. You can contact them, ask questions, or get a feel for things. Again, it's just to strengthen our shared knowledge amongst all of our districts. We didn't send one last year, so we thought it would be important to send one again this year. With summer, things change, and so we wanted to update our lists. And I think Steve will put it, thank you. Steve's going to put in the chat the link to the survey. You might not want to do it right now. I think there's like 20 some questions, but it'll be out there. We'll also send it out later as well. And then once we start collecting results, again, we'll share that spreadsheet out with everyone. All right, so Stephanie is going to be presenting later in the agenda. She's going to be talking about what's new in PowerSchool, some of those updates that are included in the 26.3 and 26.5 releases. But there's something within those releases that I wanted to share with you first thing this morning, because it is something that we have looked at within our team and we have discussed at length for quite some time now. And we find it really important, that we discuss this with you. With the 26.5 release, there is going to be an option to delete student records. And for those of you who have been in PowerSchool for a while, delete is kind of a bad word, but now we're going to have that functionality and that capability. There's actually going to be a delete student records and a delete partial student data. And we're going to go through both of these, but we're going to start here with delete student records first. It does exactly what it says it does. It deletes the entire student record and all associated data. So everything with that student record would be deleted and gone. So we have, again, this is really important and we really want to make sure everyone understands it. So this is for inactive students only. You're not able to delete an active student or any other enrollment status. Inactive students only can be deleted. You have to use this functionality at the district office level. So not at a building level, at the district level. There is no undo button. You cannot get the records back. They are deleted and gone. In the unlikely event that a record is deleted, what would need to happen is we would request a backup from PowerSchool to put on one of our test boxes. We would provide you with a temporary login to that test box where you would go in, look at that student data, and you have to recreate it in your live box. Thinking of a student record, there are many tables and fields and data with the student record that would be very time consuming, very cumbersome to recreate everything. So as we talk about this, just keep in the back of your mind that this is something that you should really have tight security on. Not a lot of people should have access to deleting. Not only that, using it with caution. We're going to go through some of the things. We'll take you through the steps. We're going to talk about some of the scenarios at the end. But as we've looked at it as a team, we really feel like there are very, very few and far between instances where you would actually delete an entire student record. So again, we'll take a look at that as we go through the slides here. So with the delete student records, it is going to be available upon request in 26.5. So you're not automatically going to see it. You have to request it. Our recommendation would be hold off. Don't request it yet. Again, we've been looking at this as a team. We've been testing different things. So again, that's our recommendation that you not request it at this time, but certainly you can if you want to. It will be available in FY27. So that is PowerSchool's goal to release this here next year. But right now with the 26.5, it is by request. Again, it's not going to be immediately seen by users. This is going to be attached through user access roles. So here we've created a new user access role, delete student data. So we didn't associate this to a student group. And you're going to see these two options here, delete full student record and delete partial student data. These functionalities here that you can check mark to enable with this user access role. So again, this is only going to be who you assign to use delete. And again, keeping that to a very minimum amount of staff to do so. With that user access role, you then go to configure page permissions and you find those delete pages and enable those page permissions. It again is going to be not visible for your staff. So, you're going to want to either give people a view access or an edit access. Again, not very many, I think, would want edit access to this. So after you have your user access roles, your configure page permissions, you have a selection of students and you want to proceed with the full record deletion. As you navigate to the full record page, you're going to see the yellow banner here. In my example, I had 50 students on my start page. 47 of them are active and 3 were inactive. So this banner is going to, again, remind us it's only going to delete those 3 inactive students. You cannot delete, it will not let you delete an active student. So it's going to ignore those 47 students I had on my start page and proceed with the 3 inactive students. You'll go to, once you confirm that, you'll see a confirm page here of those 3 inactive students that I had selected. I see just a quick summary of their information here. They're already defaulted to be, check marked. If I want to proceed, I can uncheck them. If I don't want to, I picked somebody I didn't want, I could uncheck it and then click next in our wizard here. Our next page is where we're going to schedule the deletion. So this is a scheduled function. It is not immediate. You're going to pick a date and time, and it has to be 24 hours out. You are not able to schedule a deletion less than 24 hours. That's a safety precaution that they have built in. We would recommend a week. The reason we recommend more than 24 hours, at least a couple days, or even better yet, our recommendation is for a week, is because you're going to see here, we would encourage you to have checks and balances with this. If this is something that you're looking at, having multiple people review the scheduled deletions, particularly your EMIS coordinators. Your EMIS coordinators know what data has been reported and needs to stay within your PowerSchool SIS. So scheduling it out for a week allows time for other users to view who is scheduled to be deleted so they can review it and ensure that, yep, that record is okay to delete. Once you schedule your date and time, you're going to have the final review page. So again, you're looking at those 3, in my example, 3 students I selected. I'm going to, I want to proceed with that. You'll see in the yellow banner, there's a check mark box to confirm the scheduled deletion. You have to check mark that box before you can proceed. This scheduled deletion button, the bottom right-hand corner will be grayed out until you check mark the confirm button. So again, another safety precaution built in there. You'll see the link to review district responsibilities and deletion impacts. We would encourage users to look at that, see what the impact of deleting really is doing. And again, we can tell you in a short sentence, it completely removes the student. Everything with the student, all data. You schedule that deletion and you get your confirmation that the deletion has been scheduled. It'll give you the date and time. And then there's a link to a deletion status page. The deletion status page, this is the page, again, giving you a quick summary of the scheduled deletion. So you can see I scheduled it, when I scheduled it for, what time. It's a full student deletion, all of that information here. If you had multiple scheduled deletions, you're able to use the filter options, filter as needed. There is here a download, CVS or PDF. This download is a download of just the deletion summary, that quick summary of the student information. So this is actually the PDF, the student name, number, again, their brief information here. It is not a download of all of the student record, all the data with the student record. It's a download of the deletion information. So make sure, again, users understand what that download option is. We can see it's scheduled there in the status column, and then we have an actions column. This again is where if you have multiple people, again, we would recommend multiple people reviewing scheduled deletions. You can come in and you can cancel a deletion and you can reschedule a deletion. So if another user, again, you're having people double check things, says, nope, we got to keep that student, they can cancel the deletion or reschedule it if they need to look at more information. Those options are there within the action ellipses. You'll also see the link to change history. So when you create your user access role and you configure your page permissions, you're also going to want to enable student delete within change history. We would highly recommend that this be enabled, that you start recording change history records for anyone using the deletion, whether it's full student records or the partial student data records. We would encourage you to turn that on within change history. Again, like all change history pages, you're going to see, in this case, the deletion information that I scheduled here. With the student delete, the full records and the partial data deletion, PowerSchool has added 2 application events within their notifications. So those of you who are familiar with creating tasks and notifications, you'll know you can use application events for things within PowerSchool. This deletion is an event. So there is a student deletion reminder and a student deletion status notification or application event that has been created. When you use that application event, it's already going to have pre-filled information. It's going to say who scheduled the deletion, for when, date and time. On the reminder, it's going to give you a countdown. This student's scheduled to be deleted in 2 days. So it kind of gives you a little running countdown of when that deletion takes place. This again is something we would highly recommend for any deletion that you're wanting to do within PowerSchool, associating notifications with those pertinent staff members that need to be notified. EMIS coordinators should be on this list. You can have admin with notifications. You can have it go to a certain group or whoever has a user role, or again, a certain individual. You can do all of that within notifications. And these are in-app notifications. So as you schedule them, they'll appear as that red number badge on your bell icon on the blue navigation bar. And when you click on that, you'll see your notification here. Again, it'll tell you who scheduled it, when, the batch number, and then that link to the deletion status page where you can go to that status page and see the information. Yes. Yes.
They give give you a list of all the tables.
For this full student record deletion, all, am I correct? All tables? It is everything.
But it would be nice if it was this, which tables that you could export the data. So if it was the test data,
Yeah.
grade data, if it was whatever, I could take a snapshot of those pieces first.
Yeah. That would be, and that's something, so if those of you online, if you couldn't hear, the question was, does it list what tables of data is being deleted? With the full student record deletion, it is all applicable tables, but the point here in the room was made that it would be nice to have a list so that you could export that data out prior to deletion. That would be our recommendation, export out a copy to save somewhere within your records, that in the unlikely event or the untimely event that a deletion happens that shouldn't, you have that record, but it would be multiple tables of exports that would need to be done. Yes.
Is there a date? Like we have some really 10-year-old students that really aren't students. So is there a date that we can delete them, or just any student that's in?
So the question was, is there a date of when you can delete? Like for the example given, if you have students 10 years ago that were students that wanting to be deleted. As far as state report, there are some documents within the state of Ohio, and please correct me if I am wrong, that you have to keep forever.
These are not students. They were truly heirs, but we can't get rid of them.
Okay, so in those situations, you feel like you really do have a student record that was never a student, never reported, did not attend. Our recommendation would be submit a ticket to us. We would be, again, we're working with all of our teams to just be that second set of eyes to cross T's, dot I's. There are makes sense. And if that is truly the case, that might be one of those times where you would want to delete. We would be happy.
We have some,
yeah.
They entered them first name, last name, and then they entered them again, last name, first name. So we have 2 students. And so I deactivated it after the duplicate and all that. So I could actually easily identify who we have.
Yeah, so you could submit a ticket to us, give us those students. Again, that's just another safety precaution that we're trying to put in place to, again, make sure that the deletion is a true deletion. But that sounds like that's a pretty good case scenario for maybe an application of this functionality. We had a situation where a user was trying to update a date of birth, and somehow in trying to update that date of birth, they actually created a new student record and knew it immediately. So that was something that happened. There was no other associated data. It truly was a duplicate and was, archived at that point. But again, that would be a scenario potentially that would be a deletion, a full student record deletion. But again, we're here. We have lots of team members willing to help take a look and really ensure that, yep, let's go ahead and clean out, those students that never were students.
Speaking of duplicates, yes, enrollment and eCollect are trying to catch those things better now. Is there a merge, or if one got through that? Like, it had a student that was here 5 years ago, and was the parent calls them something else and gets it through the system and updates all the data, and you'd really like to merge those 2 pieces now. Is there a merge function out there?
So there, with this, it is a deletion, not, so the question, those of you online, if you didn't hear, is there a merge option? So if you had a student returning who was there previously, the previous record has all of the history, the parent submitted a new registration enrollment form, it wasn't picked up that the student already existed, so it created a new student record. So the question is there a merge option? Not to my knowledge, there's a merge option. This is, so you would take, again, you could reach out to us, but taking that new record to update and manually update those, and then we could help with what would need to happen then with either archiving or deleting. Yeah, merge would be nice. All right, good questions. This is good questions. And like you said, it's a lot of information, and we want to make sure we cover all of it and answer the questions. Okay, so the next part of this deletion is delete partial student data. This will be available within 26.5. So again, the full record at this time is by request, but the delete partial student data is going to be available in 26.5. So the difference between the two is just what it says. You're only deleting parts of the student record, not the entire record itself. Similar to the full student record, this can only be done with inactive students. With the partial student data, you are able to, those database extension fields, those custom fields, you're able to add those to the partial deletion categories. So if you have some custom fields that you have data in that you're not required or want to keep anymore for graduated students or any of your inactive students, you could set that up, and we'll take a look at what that looks like. And then again, similar, you must be in the district office to use this function. So very similar, this looks the same. So you grab your selection of students, inactive students, you navigate to the delete partial student data, gives you that yellow banner letting you know you're about to go through the steps to partially delete two inactive students. And then a similar review page here. So it's going to show that quick summary of those students that you are wanting to delete partial data for. This is where it's different. So now you see a page with different categories. So you have attachments, demographics, incidents, logs, contact associations, health, photos, and student programs. Within each of those categories, you see the information that you can select. So you could select an entire category or individually if you wanted to get rid of office visits. If you no longer need those, you could select just office visits. So you can select the information here. Again, this is just part of the student record. The student record is going to stay intact, but maybe some information you don't need to keep for students, you know, past 10, 15 years, and you want to clean that up. So after you make your selections, you're going to go where you need to confirm. Again, in the yellow banner here, you have to check mark that confirm button to schedule the deletion. Sorry, you pick schedule your date and time, and then confirm your deletion. And again, you'll see your confirmation. It's been scheduled. You have, again, that link to your deletion status page. So this screenshot of the status page, you can see we've scheduled, we've had multiple deletions that we've worked on here. So we have the one that I just scheduled. It's noted that it's scheduled here. The two that are completed, notice that since they are completed, the option to delete the student overview within those batches is no longer available. It was once it's deleted, you're not able to have that quick summary. So it shows you they're completed and no more download option. And then you can see if you cancel a deletion, it'll show here as canceled. So that's just a more detailed view of your deletion status page. So we said those database extensions, those custom fields. So if you go to database extensions and you pull up your field, so here we have car color. Maybe we don't need car color anymore for those graduated students. We can come to this field. There is an option now here at the bottom, eligible for partial student data deletion. So we are able to flag this if we want to include this on that category page of data to be deleted. You can include your custom fields here by flagging them accordingly. All right, so again, with both of these options, delete full student records and delete partial student data, we really want you to think, is it really, especially with that full record, is it really a record that can and should be deleted? And then, discuss it with more than just one individual. Discuss it within your district. Again, others may know information on that record that needs to be preserved, and then proceed with caution. Make sure security is tight on it, that you're giving that access to those users that really should have access to it. We talked about some of the scenarios. We've had some conversations and things. So like with your enrollment building, students that have, they're in that holding tank to be enrolled and they don't enroll. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean you can delete the full student record. Maybe it was they're in that enrollment building, but they were there previously a few years ago. Again, there would be history with that record, so you wouldn't want to delete that. They're kindergartners, they're pre-registered, they never show up or they don't come, they want to wait a year. Not necessarily is that a case to delete. Maybe they attended your preschool last year or preschool 2 years ago. Again, history attached, you wouldn't want to delete that. For those of you with EMIS, you support or you submit the lunch detail information 30 days before school starts. 30 days before school starts, you have a number of students you think are going to show up on the first day of school, and then the first day of school comes and you have a handful of them that don't end up coming. You can't automatically delete those students, because if you have already submitted them in that lunch detail, once reported for the year, they have to be reported for the entire year. They cannot be deleted. So again, there are different things and different people within your district that think of these things and know these things with the tasks that they do on a regular basis. So discuss it. Again, submit a ticket to us. We would love to take a look at those students that you're thinking of deleting. We would be happy to put a second set of eyes on it.
Like, does this apply to an 81 withdrawal where we did report them and then we told them an 81, they really didn't come? And would they be eligible to be deleted?
So the question is if they were withdrawn as an 81 code, no, they would not be eligible for deletion. Correct, because you have reported them. I'm looking to our EMIS people in the back shaking heads. I did not know. I'm so grateful they're here. So again, yes, we love the enhancements and the things that PowerSchool comes out with. Again, this is something very new for all of us. Delete is not an option that we've had ever. So this is something new. We would like you to have those discussions, discuss it with us. We're happy to have those conversations. All right, before we move along in our agenda here, I do want to take a minute just to welcome in the back, Chad Sabo is here from PowerSchool. We are so grateful for Chad being here. We're grateful for his support of all of our districts, but us at Meta. I know within this last year, have relied a lot on Chad. It's been a great partnership and we've collaborated on quite a few things. So I enjoy working with him. I hope he says the same about me, but we're very grateful to have him here. All right, so I'm gonna stop my share and I'm gonna look here. So Helen is next.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I wanted to chat a little bit about some frequently asked questions on Ohio's new attendance dashboards. I want you all to know this is not my personal idea, so just know that Meta's involvement with these dashboards has been that we partnered with the Management Council upon requests from the leadership teams to fulfill the attendance data request. So this happened, just some transparency, very, very quickly. They wanted it really, really quickly. I don't even think we realized how quick they were going to be publishing the data given that to them through the plugin. So PowerSchool districts are using the Jitterbit MCOECN plugin, which has been enhanced to allow for the attendance data to be extracted straight from your SIS over to Management Council. Then Management Council does their processing on it. So I don't have all the details behind the logic that they're using, But I did want to talk to you about the logic that we're using to give them the data that they start with. When it was first developed and then it was published, every SIS had to make a lot of changes to the data that they were pulling, and we were included in that. So initially, people were seeing some numbers were okay, others were really, really off target. So at this point, within the last 3-4 weeks, I'm personally seeing things align much more closely to what we would expect based on EMIS data and the Ohio report card data through the Secure Data Center. So in the document that's uploaded and that I'm sharing, it does walk you through who we're pooling. And we are using some EMIS logic to determine those that attendance should be reported for. One thing to note though, if you are seeing a lot of students calculate with 0 attendance and you're not sure why, check that FS attending building IRN. I know that's EMIS speak, but work with your EMIS coordinator if that person's not you to make sure that element is filled in. That's just required for the Power Query we're using to generate that attendance data. But I do want to again reiterate, we're not using straight EMIS data. We're just using similar calculations. So don't be alarmed. If a student is calculating a 0 on this report, that does not mean they're not calculating. They're still calculating correctly on EMIS. So like I said, once it's extracted, Management Council processes it and then populates the dashboards. Any students that we send to Management Council with 0 absence and present, they're just removing from the dashboard. So again, that's where we're seeing some differences in enrollment numbers, might be off depending on what's going on with your SIS data. If you want to see what's being sent to Management Council, I have the instructions on how to do that. You can do it through Data Export Manager. Management Council is pulling it cumulative week by week. So you have to enter the date that you want that attendance data run for, and it will populate the export exactly like what's given to them. And then you can start to troubleshoot if you think you're seeing issues or take a look at what is being sent. We had to do the attending building IRN because of how PowerSchool, some districts use electronic buildings differently. So it just was one of those considerations we had to make in order to make sure the data was flowing through to them as expected. So again, if you guys haven't looked at the dashboards in a while, I'd encourage you to do that. If you're still seeing things that you're unsure of, that you want looked at, feel free to reach out, put in a ticket. I'll probably grab it and we'll dive into it. Are there any questions or comments? Only nice ones, please. I did hear at an EMIS conference recently that they are considering using EMIS data in the future. I think that would be great and make the most sense. Just a little biased, but so hopefully we'll see how these go in the future. I will also note Management Council does plan to, sorry, I was checking to make sure I wasn't missing a question, to repool for the whole year. So we'll see some of that data look a lot more as expected for the entire year. They just haven't told us when they plan on doing that yet. They said they had some updates to make on their end before that. So yeah.
You had said it's using the IRNs like on the FS record. I'm assuming like if we made changes to those, would it update what it sent, or is it just once it's done?
So the question is, if we've updated the FS attending building IRN, is it going to update? So for each weekly pool, they're pulling the data every week. So when he pulls it next week, it's going to capture those changes, but nothing, right? And so that's where I say Management Council does plan to go back and pool week by week by week for the whole year to refresh the entire thing. I just haven't heard of when or when that's expected. So at some point though, and again, if you guys are still seeing things that you don't expect, please feel free to reach out. We'd love to help look into it. But I will say for me, everybody I've checked recently is within 1 or 2% of the Secure Data Center. So that feels pretty good. Okay, that's all I had. Thank you. I'm going to pass it on to Susan.
Okay. I wanted to talk to you about some EMIS changes, talk a little bit about the delete as well. I'm not going to lie, our first indication was for Ohio, this is very problematic. not everyone understands Ohio reporting. So in their mind, a student that could be deleted could cause issues with EMIS reporting. Sally talked about trying to recreate the student once they're deleted. Really can't happen. If you know EMIS at all, the student number ties to the SSID. Once you've deleted that student, when you go back to re-enter them, they're going to have a new student number. So, extreme caution needs to be used so that we don't distort Ohio reporting and just cause, numerous problems for you in that area. So caution is extremely trying to persuade you to please use extreme caution with that student delete function. The next thing, though, I wanted to talk about was incident management. For several years, we have been trying to get incident management, PowerSchool's core incident management state reportable for Ohio. We were so excited, had it all ready to go in February, and Core PowerSchool said, we're going to reimagine incident management, so all your state reporting will need to be reviewed. And it's like, great. So we got through that hurdle. So it will be in the back to school release for Core PowerSchool. The 26.5 release is what the new reimagined incident management is in. And once you have that 26.5, we plan to release the Ohio portion of that in the 1st of June. So it will be ready, to hit the ground running with Ohio State reporting. And then lo and behold, guess what ODU did? This month they announced we're going to revamp discipline reporting. Yay! So we have it ready to go with the current discipline reporting, but those changes will be final in August, and they're huge. They're really big changes. So we are going to go ahead with the release. We need to get it out there. But just so you know, in August, there will be several changes to discipline reporting for Ohio. A whole different concept. Previously, you reported one entry for each incident, if you will, and they had a severity table, and you had to, report the most severe and add up the days. It really made no sense. So it is really going to be better, but it's going to be very different. There will, can be multiple entries for a single incident. For instance, he was emergency removed that day. Then he was suspended for 3 days. Then it moved to an expulsion, so on, so on, so on. So it will, it will be very different. So not that you don't want to go ahead with your setup, just want you to know that, it is going to have major changes come in August. For Ohio State reporting, the district will choose if they want to remain with log entries, which, has been for years, or if they want to move to the new incident management. Within incident management, we wanted to make sure everyone knew the security can be very mixed. They can have read-only to some things and edit to other things and no access to other things. So wanted to make sure that, everyone was aware that the security is very intense and very defined within incident management. A big pro for incident management is there are dashboards already set up. These dashboards, you can group things by behaviors, by actions, by whatever you need to see. You can group them, as you can see in this example. It goes down to the level of each incident, and then you can see the kids attached to that incident. The dashboards are also customizable. So maybe if you're a principal, I just want to see it by the behavior. I don't care, what their consequence was. I just need to see how many kids have done this, or something else. So they could set their view for just for the behaviors. They just want to see it that way. You know, maybe you're the dean of students or something, and you need to see it by only their consequence. I just need to see who's been in school suspended, out of school suspended, what have you. Then you could make that your custom screen. So there are differences. The log entries, you basically just reported the offender. You know, you just said, this is the student that got the consequences, and here's what I'm going to report on them. With incident management, there are full details. You know, you're going to have, you can choose to enter the reporter, the victim, the offender, the witness, the location, the time frame, reasons for changing if anything changed with the discipline. So there are vast differences between the two when you are making your decision which to go with. So here are the new screens. If you have used incident management before, previously it was more of a drag and drop. You would select things and drag them and drop them. Well, that's all gone. So Jason Springle does have a recording out there where he took an identical situation and entered it with the old incident management and with the new, and the entry went from like 2 minutes and 50 seconds down to 43 seconds. So it really is much more efficient. So it, like log entries, the teachers can enter referrals and they come across into incident management just like they do with log entries. The principal can pick those up. You can see the teacher referral here. Once someone picks up that teacher referral and changes it, then the other fields become available. They can return it with feedback to the teacher. Another thing they pointed out is that, you know, there might be, sorry, touching mouse here. Wow. There might be an instance where perhaps the principal sent it back and said, you know, this does not warrant discipline, and closes that observation out. And the teacher says, wait, I forgot to tell you, you know, he hit me. So they can reclaim that observation, and you can see there's history in the feedback history that, you know, exactly what happened on that way. The templates do control what is required. So you can say, you know, if your district wants to say, you have to give me the exact location. Was it the gym? Was it the cafeteria? Was it the playground? You know, you in the hallway, you can narrow that down as much as you would like. The templates will control that. They did share that displaying the homeschool is planned for a future release. When you call up the students, prior, it would show the building beside the student. So you could make sure if you have 3 Joe Smiths, it was the high school Joe Smith, not the elementary Joe Smith. So that will be in a future release. Incidents entered without participants are lost. They're deleted. So if you enter an incident and you don't attach any student to it and you go off the screen, it loses your entry. That was something worth noting, I thought. The data will not save if an action has an end date prior to the incident date. What that means is you can control your codes with start and end dates, much like other things in code sets or what have you. So say you had chewing gum was a behavior and you decided I don't need to know that anymore. So you ended that July 1st. If you tried to put an action of chewing gum after July 1st, obviously it won't save because you ended that action. They did also share that there is a known issue with the page not scrolling when working in Safari. So that was another thing worth noting. So once you've entered the incident details, then you can see in the radio buttons across the top, it goes to participants. And you can add as many participants as you'd like. You can add all the participants and then start adding their role, you know, or you can do them one at a time. I'm going to enter Joey. He was the victim. I'm going to enter Johnny. He was the offender, and Susie was a witness. You know, you can enter them one at a time, or you can enter a group of kids and assign a role to all the students at the same time. Say you had 5 students involved in a fight. You could grab all 5 students and then say they were all the offenders, things like that. The Ohio stuff will live under actions. That's where we will push out in-state updates, the state reportable items, and how they have to be reported to the state. So your in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension, expulsion, those things, your offenses like fighting, firearm, all those things. So we will push out those options and keep those up to date within the SIS. They will not be in code sets. We will push those out. Okay. Yes. Okay. So the question in the chat is, will the dashboards be just come with 26.5? That is correct. That is a core PowerSchool function that will be part of that 26.5 release. So will the dashboard stay in the SIS for previous years? It is my understanding as well, if you would switch the years, it would retain that information in the dashboards. Yes. Is it better for CRDC reporting? It's the same for CRDC reporting. There's no good way to do CRDC reporting, unfortunately. So the question is for CRDC reporting. We know that that's an even year reporting currently, unless the federal government changes their minds. So on even years, you report CRDC. So we will report 2026 data. You do it the following fall, as you've stated, year in arrears. And he's asking if for CRDC reporting, will we have to pick if we are using incident management or log entries? We have a year to play. So we will play with that. Our hope is that we can pull it wherever it lives. So if we find it in log entries, we could pull it. If we find it in incident management, we could pull it. But we have to test that out, obviously. So hopefully you won't have to say when you're running CRDC, we'll be able to do that in the background. Okay. Okay, so then after the participants, there is a review page, which basically just puts everything that you've input onto one screen for review. You can have read-only access to this. So I don't know if you have a superintendent that says, I want to look at all these, you might not want him to be able to change that. So that you could have read-only access to these review pages. There is an option to filter the participants by the role. So, if this participant page obviously can get very long. If you have, witnesses, if you have 10 witnesses that you want to put on here, you might want to weed those witnesses out when you're trying to look at other things. So you can filter by the participant role. You can also show the empty fields. Upon going to this screen, it only shows fields with entry. So you can click the box to show the empty fields as well to find missing data. And as I said, the Ohio reportable elements will live under actions. So you can see in this example, these field names will look quite similar to you. It's basically the same field names that you see in log entries under the Ohio State reportable stuff. So it's very similar. You can show the empty fields here as well. On log entries, obviously you see them all the time. Incident management is different in that way that it only shows the fields that have entry. So you would have to check the radio button to see show empty fields. Mm-hmm. Correct. Correct. So the question is that in Power Teacher Pro, currently they can do teacher referrals that flow into log entries. That is exactly the same with incident management. Okay. In the beginning, that was the observation. That's actually the teacher referral is what they call observation. And that's, you know, when who they refer it to can move it on to an incident. Correct. There is a attendance functionality with this incident management. Once it is set up, you can see the drawer that slides out here. Say, you know, I know he's going to be out of school suspended for the next 3 days. You can actually tie it to the attendance screen to pull out and put that code in on the days that they are scheduled for the discipline. They have a new capability that you can basically select by hand, as you can see here, and you can add to the selected. So if I had all these kids that were offenders, these 4 that were offenders, I might want to select 2 of them and say, these 2 get out of school suspension, while the other 2 get in school suspension, something like that. Okay. And incident management does have a lot more reporting capabilities. There is an enterprise report that they are releasing with the 26.5 that is getting rave reviews. So I wanted to make sure and point that out, that log entries, you know, doesn't have a lot of reports and reporting capability outside of the state where incident management does. There's several reports linked out there to that. So any other questions on incident management? Helen, anything in the chat? Are we okay? Okay. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about the Ohio attendance laws. It's been an experimental year. It's a very different way of thinking about attendance. House Bill 410 prior, it was a lot of regimented. When they hit this has to happen in this many days. The state heard districts when they said this isn't working. It doesn't work for our district. It's a lot of pushing paperwork that doesn't get us the results we're trying to achieve. So as a result of that, House Bill 96 revoked a lot of House Bill 410 things. It made it much more customizable. It made it so districts can say, this is what works for our demographics, for our school, for our building. This is what works. And so they can do that. So with that, there's no longer an A, B, C, D that has to be done in so many days and reported. It's all the district policy. What your policy says drives what you're going to do in your attendance. So we do have a code set area with absence action taken. These are merely examples. I am in no way saying this is what you have to do in your district. As we're talking through it, some districts said we'd like to be able to track if we email the parent or we call the parent, you know, is there better results? We want to be able to dial that down to how did we actually contact the parent to track that. So you may want to end up entering your code sets that we called them, we emailed them, whatever, so that you can track that and see what is working best. Or your district may not care. They may not say the parents contacted. I don't care how they're contacted. I just want to record that they've contacted. So you might not want all that detail. It's so district driven. You can decide what you want to have in these code sets and how you want to track your absence interventions. Yes?
FT record and ABCD.
Good point.
Because that's going to be phased out.
So is this a better area, is the question, to track the old FT events? So this actually is in where the FT events was. We did move it under an obsolete banner because FT events, were obsolete starting with FY26. We don't have any plans to remove it. We're going to leave it there for now. But to be honest, we want you to get into this school year and tell us what you need, what's working, what's not working, how we can better this for you. This is our first step in. Let's see what we can do and see if it works or if you need more. Okay. So with that, I mean, there's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 interventions. Your district might want to track that. You can assign a mentor. You might want to track that. We just don't know what all your policies are and that will work for you. So again, I wanted to show that it is down where the FT events were that you can enter it. It's date driven, so you can tell the dates. We do have 2 note columns. There is a note column associated with those code sets where you can put individualized notes. There is also a staff notes place. So we've had districts say that they're going to use the bottom to say tier 1 and then the top note to say mentor assigned and who that mentor is. Now, when you do the downloads, it will show you, because these are freeform fields, you wouldn't want to filter on them, because everyone can be different. So the filters are merely, do they have notes or do they not? So you can filter on, yes, there's notes, or no, there's not. So that's how the filters work for those notes fields. And I want to explain that. Along with those filters, you do have the ability to filter on those code sets. Every school district's filters will look different because you're all going to have different code sets. But a big request we had is that no action taken. We added that to the filtering system so that if you just want to see just the kiddos that haven't been contacted, or no action taken, I should say. The downloads, they now go to the report queue. That was a pain point, you guys. You all know that. If you selected too many kiddos and did that truancy chronic download, the PowerSchool 5-minute timeout would get you lots of times and the report wouldn't complete. So the developer was able to move that to the report queue. So now you can run as many students as you need and the report will complete as expected. We have added the SSID to this. So that was requested by users because sometimes the reports they get from the SDC or whatever only have SSIDs. So that way, to tie them together, it makes it more seamless there. We did add the DATs for all those new fields for the possible hours, the percentage, all those things. So we wanted to show you those DATs as well as the online state reporting help. We have updated the data access tag portion of that for you. So that will be a resource as well. Any other questions? Online, anything, Helen? No. Yes. Will there be training in the summer for incidents? So that's going to be a little tricky with it being the back to school release because typically we don't put the release on until mid-July. So absolutely we will offer training, but the training would have to be only on a test bed prior to that. So that mid-July, once 26.5 gets in all your environments, then we want to train hard because you and I both know if we give you a training at the end of May on a test bed that you can't go back and look at or do anything with, by the time July rolls around, you need retrained. So that's our thought process right now. If you have concerns, please enter tickets, talk to us, tell us what would work better for you. Okay. Toby, did you have a question? Sure. Yes. Right. Right. Mm-hmm.
not topic, but like they lost something. They're like, I used to do.
Okay, good question. So the question is, yeah, on truancy chronic, it used to be when you said set current collection or selection, it took you back to the start screen. Now it reloads the page with that student current selection. Reason being, when you hit report, you want it just for those filtered kids. That's why we had to do that. That's a very good question though, Toby. That's why it's doing that. It reloads the page because then the download will just download the filtered students. If we didn't reload the page, then you get all. Okay? Rich, yes. The filter page, is there a set defaults? So that there's defaults for the hours they can set. There again, that's based on your district policy. 5% is the highest you can go, but you can go lower than that. So yes, they can set defaults for those hours. We don't have defaults for the filters. So if they, have a filter they like, they would have to re-enter the filter. Good question. They're asking on the templates for incident management, can you make fields required kind of to help you help yourself? If you're an EMIS reporting at all, lots of times we get a discipline and it goes up and we get errors because they forgot to put how many days in. Things like that. Absolutely. In those templates, you can mark required fields. Yes, that is an option. Okay. Great. Thank you. I will stop sharing.
Thank you, Susan. Before we jump in the agenda, I'm going to share real quick on the here on the screen for those of you attending in here, and then Steve's going to put a link in the chat. There is a 3-question survey that we would like you to complete. So if you can do this now while we have you, those of you in person, you can scan the QR code. We just want to know what you guys are thinking regarding incident management for next school year, the 26-27 year. If you are fully committed to incident management, or if you are at this point still exploring it. We, like Susan said, we are internally discussing trainings and how those will look, and we want to make sure we're providing those trainings for not just you, just district leaders, but anyone, your principals, any staff that you have within your districts that are going to be involved with student behavior. We want to make sure we get that incident management trainings together. So we really want to know which districts are going to go ahead with that, or if you're still exploring that, that'll help us plan accordingly for those summer trainings. So thank you for completing it. Chris is up next with a MyPowerHub update.
All right, so I'm going to take a few minutes today to provide an update on where we're currently at with MyPowerHub implementations, as well as some known and resolved issues with the MyPowerHub portal. To date, we have completed MyPowerHub implementations for 50 of our member districts, and I'd like to just say thank you to all of the districts that have completed implementation up to this point. For the remaining 29 districts, I'd like to reiterate, we strongly encourage everybody who hasn't already scheduled their MyPowerHub implementation to do so as soon as possible. Remember, implementing now allows your district more time to become familiar with the platform before the start of the 26-27 school year. Meta expects districts to be implemented for the start of the 26-27 school year, and early implementation helps your district to ensure a smooth transition and ample time for training and adaptation. Remember, Meta PowerSchool core support services will focus on the MyPowerHub portal starting this fall. We have advised PowerSchool to proceed with provisioning URLs for any remaining districts. The provisioning process has been nearly completed, with only a couple of districts who were PowerSchool hosted remaining to provision. This is being done to simplify and minimize the time that is needed for an implementation that's scheduled. and to allow additional implementation flexibility. For anyone who has been through implementation but may need a refresher, we do have an additional MyPowerHub quick reference document available on the Meta documentation site, as well as a refresher video that provides an overview of the MyPowerHub educator portal on our Meta YouTube page. Starting in June, we will also be sending out the Meta MyPowerHub Monthly, which will be a brief monthly update on new features, fixes, and tips for the MyPowerHub portal. And I'd like to take a minute now to bring you up to speed on some known current bugs and recently resolved issues within MyPowerHub. I think that, yes, they did, and that was just minor UI and bug fixes. So it was, that is mentioned in here as a general note. So we have received reports of a few issues that have been exhibited in the MyPowerHub environment that are currently being reviewed and resolved by PowerSchool. So first, a known issue where some daily school bulletins are showing despite having been set to expire, and others are not showing that should be, is still being reviewed by PowerSchool's dev team. There have been reports of people using the mobile app being prompted to enter credentials nearly every time they click on a resource link. PowerSchool has determined that this is an issue with single sign-on support for resource links. They have resolved this for SIS instances that are hosted by PowerSchool, but are still working to resolve these issues for self-hosted PowerSchool SIS instances. And keep in mind, Meta-hosted instances are considered self-hosted as far as PowerSchool is concerned. This issue does not occur when using MyPowerHub on a mobile browser, only when using the mobile app. Because of this, right now, Meta is recommending currently that districts advise parents to utilize MyPowerHub via their mobile browser instead of using that mobile app. We'll continue to monitor this situation and provide updates to everyone as soon as they become available. On a brighter note, there have also been a number of recent updates that have provided some bug resolutions and feature enhancements. So the bug causing daily attendance to display duplicate attendance days when an attendance code is used that has more than one code category applied, that has been resolved. This was resolved with the 26.3 release that we applied in April. The mobile app now supports biometric sign-in. This will allow users to sign in faster without repeatedly entering a username and password. Once the self-hosted SSO issues are resolved in the mobile app, biometric capabilities will now be available on that app. Moving forward, it is important to note that users will be asked to re-enter their username and passwords by design, or use biometrics in 3 different situations. When launching the app from a cold start, you're going to have to put in that information. When returning to the app after it's been running in the background for more than 15 minutes for security purposes, it'll ask you to re-enter that credential information, or if you're using that mobile app once things are working, and we recommend it again, using that biometric sign-in. And then finally, if you haven't logged into the app within the last 30 days, you're going to have to sign in again fresh to refresh that information. Standard scores should now be displaying on the assignments detail page instead of incorrectly displaying a not graded field. And there was an issue where some prior school years and classes didn't appear under the grades past years in MyPowerHub. Past year grade history now loads more completely, so families can view all available previous year grades. And for you, Rich, there's also been numerous minor bug fixes and UI enhancements since the last district leader meeting that we've had. Again, as always, if your district is seeing these issues or any other issues with MyPowerHub, please make sure to submit a case to us. Even if it's a known bug, the more examples of issues that are provided to us, the more data we have to help quickly resolve those issues. So again, just to wrap things up, to get started with the MyPowerHub implementation, districts can book their implementation appointment by visiting the scheduling link or scanning the QR code on this screen for easy access to our bookings page. Once an appointment's been made and booked, we'll create a meta ticket for that district in order to start back and forth communication and collaboration for your district's implementation. Yes, Rich. That is, I believe, something that they're working on releasing, but we're just, like I said, at this point, we're kind of suggesting, and I was super excited about the mobile app too, full disclosure. You know, I still think it's going to be awesome, but it looks like when they've released it, they've just run into some pretty big bugs as far as I'm concerned. That constant login kind of eliminates a lot of the convenience that parents would feel from that mobile app. So again, along with that MyPowerHub monthly that you're going to start seeing come through in June, we'll make sure that we include in that as soon as we've gotten note that that issue is resolved. We've been able to test it and verify that the app is playing nicely. We'll definitely make sure to get that information out.
The big thing is this time of year,
yeah, right.
Not available.
Via the mobile app, correct. No, I agree. And again, that's why at this time, because there's just issues, we're saying, you know, I know one of the big selling points that we kind of mentioned originally was that mobile app. It still will come through. They are still putting work in to get that running the way it should. So I still do think it's going to be a great thing. But just for now, stick with recommending the mobile browser to people because we're not seeing those issues exhibited. So yeah. Any other questions right now?
In the chat.
Absolutely. As soon as I sit back down over here, I'll get, oh, perfect. Right on. All right. All right, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Let me get my screen shared and then we'll get going here with the next part. All right. So my name's Steven, and I'm talking to you a little bit about the Test Loader project today. This is something we've been working on for a few years, and I want to talk about the differences between core test results first and FA test results or state reporting test results, because I know there's always a little bit of confusion, understandably. And so what I'm talking about here today is going to be almost exclusively about core test results, not EMIS, not state reporting. But I do want to show you a screen that'll maybe illustrate the difference for everybody in the room and online. And what I want to get to by the end of this 10 minutes or so is to know whether this is going to be useful to you, whether you guys are using it, and that sort of thing. So that's part of the intent of this presentation. So this is the difference in the displays between core test results versus state assessments. Core test results, that screen up in the top left has been available for, well, at least as long as I've been around, probably a lot longer in PowerSchool. Whereas in the bottom right corner, that's a customized screen to display state assessments from the EMIS or state reporting side of things. So a lot of you had requested that in past years, came out a couple of years ago. I think it's really nice. It's, you know, visually appealing, obviously. But there are reasons that you might want, that I think some of you still do want, your test results in core test results. Now, I also want to point out that it is required for state reporting to get your test results into the state reporting side. And so what you're seeing in the bottom right corner, that display, which, by the way, if you have it turned on, parents and students have access to in the public portal to see that screen. But also they have access to see that core test results in the public portal. again, resulting in some confusion a lot of the times, not just for parents and students, but for us as well. So you can so in the room, someone said, yeah, you can turn off that to lessen the confusion. Absolutely. It just depends on which side you're using. And that's what we're getting to here. So again, state assessments, there's a setup page within your district, from your district admin menu to turn on which tests you want to display in the bottom right corner. And then the core test results in the top left is just core PowerSchool. And what we're doing here on this project that I'm speaking of is making it a little bit easier for you as the district leaders, as the users, whomever manages test results in your building, to get these test results into the core side of PowerSchool if and as you need them. So I'd like to do a poll. If you could all scan that code, I think that'll work. But what I'm going to do here is stop my share for a moment. And I'm going to open up a different page. There we go. So my first question for you is, does your district currently use the PowerSchool core test results page? And if you could scan that QR code, whether you're online or you're in the room, that should work for you. You should be able to answer that question. And we're just getting a straw poll here, whether anyone is using the core test results, basically importing tests like ACT, SAT, Ohio State tests, OELPA, alternate assessment, a lot more can be imported into core test results. So even those tests that are not required for state reporting, you can track in your test results. So there is some use to it. And again, there are reasons you might want it. One reason that some of you aren't aware of, and some of you, again, may not be using, is the grad planner. So for your high school students, for your high school parents, for your high school admin users, the grad planner pulls data from the core test results. So if you want to build in a way to track test results for students and parents via the grad planner, you would want that. That would be a good reason to have them in core test results. Again, not required, but just maybe useful for you. And I appreciate the honesty. So you can see I included I am unsure, and that's a fair answer, because there may be things you don't know. So what I encourage you to do is, if you're a district leader and you are thinking, I'm not sure what the use of this would be, maybe I want it, maybe I don't, maybe we need to talk through it, you can schedule time with a team member. And I want to give a shout out to some team members. So this is something that Christine and Sally and I have been working on with the help of the devs, so Corey and Zach. So there's a lot of considerations here for how this should work. And we never take importing data lightly. And so we want to look at all angles. And that's why it's been kind of I'm going to call it a slow rollout of how we're doing this. And currently we're still in the mode of importing the results for you. And I'm going to give an example of what that looks like on our end, and why we're kind of treating it very delicately at this point, making sure we're never going to import bad data into your system, right? So I'm going to show you the next slide. So which statement best describes your understanding of assessment data in PowerSchool? The options are: FA test records are required for state reporting, while core test results are optional, or core test results will replace FA testing, or FA test records and core test results serve the same purpose or are the same. Which do you think? Go ahead and give that one a try. So this is more of a knowledge assessment. Another 10 seconds on that, and then we're going to move on. This is kind of satisfying watching the numbers go up. It's like, there are people participating. Thank you. Right. So the majority of you are correct in that FA test records are required for state reporting. Core test results are optional, but may benefit you. Some of you said that they serve the same purpose. And in a sense, I can see why that would be the answer. Because from a parent-student standpoint, they want to go look in the public portal to see their test results. And some of the same information is displayed in both places. So in that sense, I could agree with that third statement, but not entirely. The big difference is state reporting, right? So all our EMIS people in the room are very familiar with why that makes such a big difference. So I wanted to make that differentiation. All right. Why does your district not use core test results? The fourth option is actually we do use it. So just note that, because the way I worded this is maybe a little off-putting. And again, this data is going to help us. So it's not just for real time knowing where everyone else among our districts sits, but I'll have these results so we can kind of pinpoint what our district needs are out of this, how you're using it, and why or why not it may be useful to you right now. Yeah. Yeah.
ACT, there's only required. But you also can get STEM score and the overall score.
Mm-hmm.
Two things automatically that
Yeah.
have more information. But you can also then go and get more info from ACT on different subject areas and drill down on that data. If you lay out your ACT test result loader to load those sub-scores, it's more information and it might be more helpful to either your data team or your teacher in those subject areas that you'll never see in the FA side.
That is absolutely true. I'm going to repeat what you said, Rich, for the online users. So the comment in the room was that you can set your core test results sub-scores or subject area scores to add additional information using ACT as the example, like the STEM score, and I think there used to be a writing English score. I'm not, okay, there is a writing. Yeah, so those separated scores, plus other information that you could pull from ACT, again, just using ACT as the example, but you wouldn't need those for the FA side. You wouldn't need those for state reporting, but you may want that additional information for your admin users and maybe even for your parents and students. And that's what's neat about the loader. And what I haven't called it yet is the builder. And that's what we've been working on the back end, is building these mappings, which I'm going to get to next after this poll, to align what your tests look like and subtests look like versus how those scores are coming in, and then matching those score reports to the mappings to the standardized test results. So I have a visual that maybe will make that a little bit more clear. All right, so why does your district not use core test results? We have no need for it. We had 4 users state that. 6 of us said unsure of why it differs from FA test results. And the majority that answered said, actually, we do use it. I have a question. Yeah. Thank you. The grad planner pulls from core test results, not grad pathways. Yeah, which have very similar names, I know.
That are not state reported.
Yeah, yep. The core test results page can be used to enter data that isn't state reportable, but you still want to track, again, for your admin users and for your parents and students. So it could be useful. In fact, just kind of an out of the box way to use it. I know one district in the room that's using it to track community service hours. Just a different way to use the page. And they update it as students prove they have more community service hours. Anything numeric really can be tracked on that page. All right, is your district interested in using the core test results page if the score data can be easily loaded? So the answer is yes, it can be easily loaded. But now that you know that, are you interested in having your test scores loaded? In fact, I've picked up, while you're answering, I'll just say I've picked up 2 cases just this week from districts that I know that you're getting your OST results, I think this very week, right? And we've imported some results successfully this week for them. Again, only talking about core test results side. I'm not talking about FA. I don't touch FA imports. I don't touch EMIS imports. So only for the core side. But we've successfully loaded OELPA scores this week, OST scores, and I'm going to give you a list of all the ones we've been successful in loading into the test results in a bit here. So it looks like the majority are interested in using it, which is great news for us with all the work we've put into it. This kind of validates our work. So if using core results, this is you can select as many as you want. Which assessments does your district currently store there or even want to score there? And I gave a bunch of examples of types of tests that we have imported or have attempted to import here. So again, maybe we're talking about state reportable tests, maybe not, but what do you want to use core test results for is what we're looking for here. And for those in the room, I know if you scan the barcode or the QR code, you can see it. But the options are OSTs, OELPA or alt OELPAs, alt assessments, ACTs, SATs, MAP scores, ASVAB, PSATs, iReady scores, MAP. I have MAP in there twice, don't I? Oh, well, that's all right. COGAT and Iowa scores. So a lot of different types of assessments that our students take. Both statewide, but also, a lot of these are national tests. Just getting an idea of what's most useful for your use of the core test results screen. And just a real quickie, are there other test results that weren't listed there that you'd want loaded, that you didn't see or hear me say out loud? And if so, you can enter it in here. No? All right, great. I covered them all. Success. That's all I need. Thank you very much. No. That's great. Thank you for I was actually trying out this poll earlier and I thought about putting that in myself, but so it's funny that's in there and I didn't want that to display, so I didn't as soon as I opened it. Okay, AP scores, great suggestion. Yep. Acadians, I have not heard of that one, at least in a while. Acadians is dyslexia screener. Okay. Right. And lastly, again, blank, type in the blank. Is there anything that could make core test results more valuable to your district at this time that Meta, the PowerSchool team, can help with? And I'm going to give you, I know we're running short on time. I apologize, Sally. I'm taking us over a little bit here, but this is your interactive part of the presentation. So, yeah. Only having to load scores once. Yeah, that would be, yeah. That would be nice if it went 2 places at once. Understand. Another 30 seconds. See if we get any others. Yeah, more efficient for the user for sure. Okay, someone said a dashboard for overall result display, so maybe everything in one place. Oh, and something I haven't mentioned, somebody brought up in this third answer. We only use core results for teachers to see in the teacher portal, because that's how you can use them as well. I failed to mention that earlier. That's correct. So if you want your teachers to see test results, use core test results. One type of file for all places. I think we're getting there. Any others? I'm going to maybe 5 more seconds, and we're going to get to the next one. I'm going to get back to the presentation here. Thank you for your feedback. I really do appreciate it. That's helpful for us to see. Okay, so as we've already talked about, not going to spend much time here. Which test scores can we import? If you have test scores that you want imported into core test results, put in a case, ps.support@metasolutions.net with your test scores. I'm going to talk about why the loader is a little picky and why it has to be a little picky, again, to keep out bad data and only import good data. I'll get a little bit more into that before I wrap up here. But if you have test score files that you want imported specifically into core test results, not for state reporting, send them to the ps.support email address. And you can do that as early as today. Again, I've already taken a few. Yeah. Great question. Thank you. You know my, my struggle here. So we can take either CSV or TXT. So, you know, Christine and Sally and I have built out mappings to use both. The really difficult part, and that brings me to my next slide, is that test score reports, sometimes they have different column headers. This is fake data. We don't need to worry about exposing any data here. So it's a puzzle, right? Because you're providing these files in either a TXT format or a CSV format. And we've built mappings for both types for each of these tests, because some of you are pulling different types of files. But also we have learned, and I really appreciate some of you, like a couple of our districts in the room here have helped me out by showing me what that login, or once you log into these test environment, these you know, test organization websites, what they look like and all the options available, right? I can choose what the column headers are and what I want to pull and what I don't. And in the beginning, we were trying to predict that to build these mappings. So the leftmost graphic here, our idea is for you never to really see that screen or need to worry about that screen, because we're building the mappings for you. And Corey's created a community environment type of thing that once we create it in our test box, we can share it out to each district who needs it. So when one district says, hey, I want to import ASVAB scores, oh, good, I have the mappings for those already. I'll push them into your environment. However, if the way you pulled the report doesn't match the mappings, then I have to go adjust them. Also, keep in mind, and this is the ultra important piece, is the way your standardized tests are built are not, I'm going to use the word, standard across the board for all of our districts, right? You have different sub-test score titles. So we're not changing those, but we're adjusting our mappings to fit your standardized tests. And in the case when, let's say, I'll use map scores. That's kind of I think that's been a newer request for us in the past year. For some of you, we're creating the map standardized test score in response to you saying we would like map test scores imported for that now. So we're working out some bugs. We're catching things. But this is kind of the puzzle to solve as we go along, and why we're keeping it in-house in terms of send your requests to us and we can import them for you. Consistency is key. So the first time you provide a score file, we may need to adjust your test mappings. We may need to build a standardized test, like I said. And as what happened with OELPA this week, the column headers all changed again. So the file I was provided by 2 different districts, just the column headers had a couple extra words in there, and my mappings didn't match anymore. So I had to fix them. But then again, I'm pushing it out to all the districts in response to that. So these are the challenges that we're working through. But in the end, we can make it happen as a team for you. All right, so again, send us your files, and in response to the question in the chat earlier, again, CSV or TXT, but as long as there's consistency in the way you send us those files, because when you send us the first one, it'll go a lot smoother if the second file you send to the same test looks like the first one you sent. But I understand that also your files change. So one thing I didn't put in the presentation, I'm going to put a plug out there for, is please do not hand modify the files. Anytime we open an Excel, resave it as something else, or, you know, again, the column headers change, or we lose leading zeros somewhere, we have the opportunity for bad data. So please do not modify the files, just send them over as you pull them. Any other questions for me? That was a lot. Yes. I'm so glad you asked, truly, because in the room, someone asked, If I already had my ACT scores for, let's say, March imported, but then I get a new updated file with maybe some more information that matches the standardized test I have in there, how would that work? And it will overwrite the previous scores. So whatever you provide us, and technically all those scores should match, you know, per kid, what was already in there. It'll just add to the record. But truly, it'll technically replace the record, as long as the date and the test type matches, the date of the test and the test type. Yeah. So in a quick example, you sent me your ACT scores with the 4 primary subjects, but then you sent another file that had, you know, the STEM subject test score, and that STEM test is created as a subtest in your environment. It'll overwrite all the scores, replacing them, but also include your STEM score now. Does that help? Good. Anything else for me? All right. I'm kind of anticipating seeing some test score files sent my way this week. Thank you. Great question. That has changed. You could send them. Yeah, you could send them separately. The reason is, so the question in the room was, can I send my OST subject scores separately, or do they all have to be in one file? You can send them separately because it's looking at the test date. And please correct me in the room if I'm wrong. A student wouldn't take 2 different subjects in one day, right? Probably not. So technically, if ELA was taken on April 16th and math was April 18th, it's going to be a separate record anyway, so it won't matter. Yeah, that's a good question, though. And also, to add to that, the OST specifically are subject area specific in the actual test now, which was intentional. Thank you for asking. Anything else? All right, I'm going to turn it over to the next person.
All right, Mike, I think we're ready. Thank you. Mike Ferecki is joining with us from SameGoal. He accepted the invitation to come and present some SameGoal updates. We have a lot of districts with SameGoal, so we appreciate him being here. He is virtually, and we can see his screen online and in person. So thank you, Mike.
Okay, thank you, Sally. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We've got about 30 minutes. I don't know if it will take that full amount of time to get through all of the material, and we'll kind of go through. So SameGoal, a little bit of background. It's a platform for managing special programs. So whether that's special ed, Section 504, ELL, gifted, RIMS, you know, any of these kind of special program codes that are written for students. So we serve approximately 95% of the LEAs in Ohio use SameGoal, and have a large overlap between districts that are using PowerSchool and SameGoal together. So during today's presentation, we will really focus on that integration. We'll talk briefly about some of the updates, and then we'll hop into the upcoming changes, the improvements to the integration between PowerSchool and SameGoal. So you may have heard about the state updating the special ed forms. So the IEP and related forms are going to be changing. They're being revised. Our plan is to basically, as soon as we get kind of final confirmation, there are publicly available drafts of the updated special ed forms. We've created those within SameGoal. We have not launched them yet because we're waiting for kind of the nod from the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce to kind of say, hey, the forms are ready to go. And then at that point, we will release them. That should be, we would think soon, in the next month or two, to release the forms and make them available within SameGoal. And at that point, we will email all the ITCs, email all the districts and say, hey, the forms are available, and you'll be able to opt into using the new forms at any point during the upcoming school year, the 26-27 school year. If by basically about a year from now, you still have not opted into using the new forms, then July 1st of next year, we will be kind of pushing everyone to say, okay, for 27-28, they're mandated. you'll need to use the updated forms. You can no longer use, the current forms that you're using today by July of next year. So that will give districts basically a full year to play around with the forms, create them. When you say, hey, we want to use the new forms within SameGoal, then when your staff create IEPs and related documents, they will be on the new forms. The old forms will remain. I mean, you can still reference them. You can still progress report from them. And we've done mapping for the reports and integrations. So if you run and say, hey, I need a list of all the kids that get speech therapy, that's going to look at both the, kind of the old form and the new form and create, one comprehensive list of all those students. So it should be a relatively smooth rollout of the new forms, given that like the mapping of the integrations and mapping of reporting and compliance checks and all that we've already done that piece. So we're in good shape for that update. Don't panic about that piece. Just know that, okay, SameGoal is going to make those forms available. We can opt into them. We have a whole year to opt into them. And if you have any questions, reach out, to our help desk team or your ITC, and we can get you more details on that. And keep an eye out for that update. As soon as the forms are publicly available, you'll see those available within SameGoal. Okay. SameGoal includes, in addition to, so like, everyone that uses SameGoal on the call, you're using SameGoal for at least special ed, but know that there are also Section 504 forms, there are ELL forms, there are, gifted, there's reading improvement and monitoring plans. There are many other forms that are available within SameGoal, and those are all included with you purchasing SameGoal, licensing SameGoal through Meta. As part of that negotiated contract, you have access to those additional form sets at no additional cost. So if you say, hey, we want to use SameGoal next year for writing our RIMPs or for writing our ELL forms, there's no additional cost. It's a pretty simple process. There's already the PowerSchool integration in place. We really just need to configure staff accounts, load the staff accounts, do some training, and they're off to the races. They're up and running. They're good to go. So if you say, hey, there are things that we are managing in Google Docs, or, that's, I guess, probably the most common solution that I'll see to some of these related programs where they'll say, oh, yeah, right now we're currently writing those documents in Google Docs. Moving that to SameGoal will allow one central place. Multiple people can work on the same document at the same time. We handle all of the form revisions and the collaborative editing and the reporting and the tracking. So feel free to reach out. We can do a specialized demo for your district to say, oh, let's take a look at the English language learner forms and let's take a look at the gifted. We could do that. So, okay. The focus, there have been a number of updates that we've made to SameGoal recently. One of the big ones that I wanted to mention to this group was the district to district contact. So you've always been able to send, for documents back and forth within SameGoal. It's been around for a long time, that feature. But now that so much of the state has moved to SameGoal, it's very useful. We've recently updated, and I can send some of this documentation, but there's a way to list a point of contact so that when a district is going to send you documents, they'll say, okay, this is the person at the district I should be transferring those documents to. So making it easier for a district that's maybe far away geographically to know, oh, okay, the students, we're a school district around Cincinnati. The student's going to a district around Cleveland. We might not personally know that person, but having that person listed and just trying to make everyone aware that in SameGoal, you can select documents. You can transfer those documents using the PowerSchool ID. So this is a sandbox environment, all made up students. I have Abby, Acorn Squash. And if I said, let's take this IEP, let's go ahead and transfer it to another district. And I'll say, okay, we're going to send this to Marion City Schools. Okay, and then I could enter the student's PowerSchool ID, not their SSID, but the PowerSchool ID here, and the email of the admin at Marion City that I'm transferring this document to. It's going to create a copy of that document, send it to the receiving district while keeping a copy in my district that originally wrote that document. With the update, you'll be able to see, as soon as you select Marion City, you would see the owner email to say, okay, this is who at Marion City I'm sending those documents to. Oftentimes it's an admin or an assistant, and then they divvy those documents out from there. So now, and that ties into EMIS as well. So if I say, okay, well, I want to know, how do I, if you're logged into SameGoal and you click on the help icon under state reporting, we have EMIS crosswalk. And to get there, I was logged into SameGoal. I click on the question mark, I go to help. Under state reporting, we go to EMIS crosswalk. That is going to walk you through where each element pulls from, where on which document does this EMIS element pull from, and how does it calculate, what is the logic running there to calculate. In SameGoal, we do what we call the English to EMIS translation, where it takes an IEP and ETR, and it programmatically looks at that document and calculates, okay, this is what needs to be reported to EMIS based on how they've filled out that document. So that's under EMIS crosswalk. But what I wanted to show was if you go to help, and then we go to special education, if we go to common workflows, this will walk you through, like, how are we doing a preschool transition conference? How do we do an amendment? How do, let's say, an electronically transferred TIEP comes in. So a neighboring district, they send us an IEP as the student moves in. We're going to mark that document as incomplete, say that it's state reporting information only, and enter the TIEP date on the cover page. So, and these things are more important now because in the past, as you fill out information within SameGoal, it built that EMIS at a glance form, and it still does, right? But this EMIS at a glance form is showing you, it's saying, hey, based on how you filled out this document, this is what we're going to report to EMIS. And this is just kind of there's a lot going on here, but like, oh, we've got an IIEP, 2 AIEPs. This is just, I was doing some testing and I removed a date, but, so you can see, okay, then we have our 215008 occupational therapy, special transportation services. We have our FA record here, standard assessment with accommodations, their IEP accommodations. So we generate that EMIS form. And then what you currently are doing, right, is you're taking this EMIS form, logging into PowerSchool, going to the special program screen and keying this information in, double checking it and keying that information in. We're excited to announce that for next school year, we will, just like we work with PowerSchool to build that eSchool Plus EMIS integration. So for the districts that use eSchool Plus, their EMIS just kind of magically flows over from SameGoal into eSchool Plus. We have built that equivalent integration with PowerSchool itself. So if you would like to, and we're not forcing the districts to, it's kind of a recommendation because we've had a lot of success going from a 2-step EMIS to a 1-step EMIS. You can think of historically in Ohio for special ed state reporting, there's been a 3-step, a 2-step, and a 1-step. The 3-step was back in the day, you would write an IEP, you'd fill out an EMIS data collection form. So the first thing is write the IEP, second thing is fill out EMIS data collection form, third thing is key that EMIS data collection form into your student information system for reporting to the state. SameGoal at least took those first 2 steps and combined them to say when you create that IEP or ETR or related document, it's going to build that EMIS form. It's going to infer and figure out what EMIS should look like for that student and ask you questions that determine what this EMIS form looks like. So with SameGoal, it at least takes that from a 3-step process to what is currently a 2-step, where you fill out the IEP, generates the EMIS form, and then you're reviewing and keying this into PowerSchool. If you move to the 1-step EMIS, which is an option, you don't have to, but I definitely think it's something worth exploring. It is going to fill out the special programs and other related screens in PowerSchool based on what is in SameGoal, what is on this EMIS at a glance. So if you think about that and say, yeah, let's explore that more, this could be a good thing. The first step I would really say is go to reports. If you have access to SameGoal, if you go to reports or if you work with your special ed team, go to reports, go to state reporting, and you can take a look and say, okay, what is SameGoal going to send to PowerSchool? Let's start with the GE. We're going to run this report just for valid records. And if I run it, and this is just a sandbox and the environment gets cleared out pretty frequently. So I was going to say this will show you the column headings. So it's like your EMIS chapter 5 file. If I were to, let me go to just say GQ as an example, valid. Run this report, see what we get here. Oh, you know what? Okay, and documents will only be calculated if they're marked as complete. So if I say, and that's as expected, right? So once the intervention specialists go ahead and they mark that document as complete, let's see if I can, I'm going to see if I can mark these two as complete. Yeah, I'm just going to use the admin override here, which that's not recommended typically, but for demonstration purposes, let's go ahead and run this one and see what we have here. Let's go ahead and run that report. Okay, so you can see this is kind of, for the folks familiar with EMIS, this makes a lot of sense, right? And you can see, okay, you know, we've got a related service here as an example. This is the GQ report. Now you can see we have this record would actually be dropped and would not be written back into PowerSchool. The reason for that is our GQ50 is invalid. It's looking at this EMIS ID and going, that doesn't look like a valid EMIS ID. You know, I don't see, you know, the 2 letters and the number, that doesn't look right. So SameGoal, when you run these reports, if you were to go and run this report and select invalid, that would give you a list of records that are being dropped because they're not a valid record. We can't write them back into PowerSchool. It will just cause, you know, problems downstream. So you'd go through, you'd resolve these issues, and then you'd rerun that report. And, you know, that is a summary of what we're going to write to PowerSchool during that nightly EMIS integration. So if you're currently doing, right, the 2-step EMIS process and you're relying on that human review to correct errors and say, hey, I see the student, I know that student, you're reporting them as an IE 15, but I know they're an IE 13. You know, those are the classes of errors that when you move to an automated process, you know, the computer is not going to magically know the student and know the context. We can do validation checks, and SameGoal has a lot of built-in validation checks that are going to verify that the age-appropriate sections are filled out. You know, you cannot lock it, the dates are within range, things of that nature. You cannot lock a document until those data validation checks have been filled out. So if your staff, let's say they create an IEP, they fill out a little bit of it and they say, hey, this looks great. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mark this as complete. It's going to let you know that, okay, we ran 128 validation errors, 52 format checks, and there are a lot of errors that we've encountered, right? And then they can click on any of these links and say, you know, okay, in section 4, has a team determined the ESY services are necessary? This is required. You would expect to see that filled out. It's not filled out. So we cannot lock the document. So SameGoal has those built-in data validation checks. We're tracking when given documents are coming due. We're reminding your team that, hey, by May 30th, we need to get a prior written notice out and get consent for an initial eval based on the referral date that came in. So SameGoal is tracking all of that, and it's making sure that documents cannot be completed, cannot be marked as complete or finalized until all those data validation checks pass. So we catch a lot of classes of EMIS errors. We'll do calculations and say, hey, if the student's going to be 14 by the end of the IEP, then we know, you know, we can look and say, okay, do we have a 4-year grad plan in place or not? It's going to kind of do a lot of filtering and cleaning on the front end to make sure that reasonable things are being entered. Then once the document passes all of those checks, your intervention specialist or special ed team, they're going to mark those documents as complete. Once they mark a document as complete based on its date range, that's going to determine how it flows into the EMIS extracts. And then these EMIS extracts will be written into PowerSchool. So if that sounds great, what I would do is just make sure that whoever at your district is reviewing and entering information in PowerSchool, that at this point, it's very much a clerical task. They're just taking verbatim what's on the EMIS form, putting in PowerSchool. They're not doing a lot of quality control on that because it's clean. You know, I mean, they're reviewing it, but there aren't many issues that they're finding. Because what we've found is when districts move from a 2-step to a 1-step, if you were relying on that human check, then you lose that piece. For better or for worse, you lose that human element to it, and it's just going to flow into PowerSchool. So there's not a lot of setup that needs to be done if you say, hey, this sounds great, other than really making sure your EMIS is clean enough. You can do things like you can run these reports out of SameGoal and then compare it to what's in PowerSchool. That's one way to diff the two and see, okay, And then if you're going to be doing a one-step EMIS, then all of your transfers need to be entered in SameGoal. You really won't be able to go into PowerSchool directly and enter EMIS information on that special program screen because the nightly integration will just revert it back to whatever is in SameGoal. So if there's something that you need to capture, like a transfer, you need to make sure to do that workflow, capture it in SameGoal so that it rolls into PowerSchool. What questions do we have so far? Everyone following along, doing okay?
Mike, we had a question back talking about the transfers. Can you set up notifications for the district to district transfer once you add a specific person?
Yeah, so let's see here. I know that is part of, if I go to the bell icon and I go to the, if I go to the bell icon and go to the gear, that allows me to configure personally, for me personally, when do I get an email? When do I get a pop-up? And you could, so that would be under document share. If you select this checkbox here with the envelope, that will ensure that you receive an email whenever a document is shared with you, whether that's coming from in the district or out of the district. And we are working on a D2D transfer report that would give you a digest of these are all the documents that have transferred out. These are all the documents that have transferred in either today or this week or this month, or you could set the date range.
Okay. What other do we have any other questions in the room or comments on the one-step EMIS? No, I saw lots of smiles when you were talking about it, so no questions other than that. Thank you.
Sure. No, that's a good thing. So, and I would say for folks that want to opt into it, there's some steps that you'd need to take to, we're not going to just start pushing EMIS information into PowerSchool until we kind of get the nod from you to say, hey, this is something we want to do. So I would say if that sounds interesting, you'd like to move forward with that, probably the best thing to do would be maybe reach out to Meta, do you think? And then kind of Meta can put together, I don't know, Sally, if that would be you or if that would be that if we kind of get a list together of all the districts that want to use that, you're better off starting, if you're going to go to one-step EMIS, you want to just make that decision in like July, August, September at the latest, probably, because once you get too far into the year and you've entered that stuff manually, then it gets messy to go and say, okay, now we're going to switch over to having the SameGoal do the rest.
Okay. We did get another question in the chat. Will SameGoal create an event and special programs in PowerSchool for the students on the flow through?
So on the flow through, you said?
I'm assuming they mean the one-step EMIS process, but
oh yeah, everyone calls it different things. I call it one-step EMIS. Other people have called it like the automatic or the magic EMIS, or flow through, whatever you want to call it. EMIS write back. So it will, like, let's say your staff, they create an ETR for a student, they assign a disability condition, and they lock that document, and now we have an FD record. It's going to go into PowerSchool and update the FD without screwing up, like the other elements that are associated with FD that are not special ed related. Was that the question, or was that?
Yeah, and they're asking specifically about special programs, and based on what you've presented, my understanding is that it absolutely will. It'll create either the event type or the special program for the GQ record that's associated with those students.
Yes, for the GQ, that's like for special ed, the 215 codes and things of that nature are going to flow from part 7, part 8, over to PowerSchool.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. I don't think there's any other questions, but I'll come back if there are.
Okay. I think that's mostly what I wanted to focus on today, the material. I mean, if anyone wants to deep dive into anything, we've got a little bit of time, a few minutes we could hop in, but we will be sending out more documentation as we get closer to the launch, right around, like, we're aiming to launch that ideally July 1st. So. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you again, Mike, for attending. We appreciate that information very much. Appreciate it. All right, we're running a little behind in our schedule, but we're going to keep going. We appreciate that. I can only take the blame for that. I did look at the clock when I was presenting. I took twice the amount of time that I had allotted on the agenda. So I apologize, but we do have a few more things that we would like to share with you. So we'll keep through these last items. Next, Stephanie's coming up. She's going to present on what's new in PowerSchool, the latest, the two most recent PowerSchool version updates. She's going to give us those highlights.
I'll go quickly. No, lunch is close. So as Sally mentioned, I am going to cover what's new in PowerSchool 26.3 through 26.5. So starting with 26.3, new enhancement or new features and enhancements. There were a couple that didn't really apply currently to Ohio districts, but one that does apply. So if you are using plugins that have an update, and if that changes a field length, then that will automatically increase when the plugin is updated. We also had quite a few resolved issues in 26.3. So I'll cover these pretty quickly. But attendance, if you were running the ADA, ADM by minutes system report, it will no longer display negative numbers if you run that for all students instead of a selection. So that's good. We don't want anyone with negative attendance. Change history, you may have noticed, I've seen this a couple times. There were some issues with that due to incorrect date and time based on the SIS time zone. So you might have seen change history and it looks like your staff is just really on top of things, working at like 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning. So if you saw some strange things like that, it was likely due to this bug, which has been resolved. In PowerScheduler, the server-side build validation has been improved to prevent a total outage if a teacher is oversubscribed. So you'll now get a warning about that during the validation process. Quick import, if you have section numbers that contain spaces or special characters, those will now be validated during an import. With scheduling, if you're using the automated scheduler, that will now honor locked sections if the course is not one of the students' course requests. And the last one here for students, if you're looking at attendance by day, absences and tardies, the section on quick lookup, that will now display based on the selected term that you are viewing. A couple more resolved issues. So in the substitute portal, substitutes can now view student photos for remotely enrolled students. So a lot of times this is, you have a middle school student who comes to the high school, maybe for math or another advanced class. So the substitutes will also be able to see their photograph in there. And then this next one was an inadvertent, a bug that came about from 26.2 with all of the security enhancements for the substitute portal. I know I saw a couple tickets come through that in the sub portal, the teacher list was massive, like it was including all the teachers I think that there ever were maybe in the system. So you should no longer be seeing that behavior in the sub portal. And then in Power Teacher Pro, secondary categories will also be copied when copying over traditional grade calculations, and teachers should no longer be receiving an error when updating citizenship. So there is no 26.4, I didn't skip it, but 26.5 is a biggie. So new features and enhancements in here, the delete student records and incident management, of course. Thank you, Sally and Susan, for tackling those. There's also an update to the unified user. I'll just mention that briefly. That doesn't apply to everyone. It's an upgraded item. But if that is something that you're using, they've simplified account creation and linking. So when you're setting up a Guardian account, the system will recognize they already have an account that's active and then link that instead of ending up with duplicate accounts. And then you'll also use secure password reset links for forgotten passwords instead of manually updating those in the SIS. And then the next big one, setup validation, has its own slide. This is a really nice feature. I think you'll really like this one. We encourage you to check it out and utilize this. So what this does, it's a built-in validation dashboard available at both the building level and the district level. And it has different areas set up and then items within each of those areas. Some of the common areas where, configuration is needed, and if things aren't completely set up, then it will cause errors and issues down the line. So this is kind of a nice place to manage that all in one spot. So I did include the breadcrumb to access this from either the school or the district side. One thing to note when this goes live, the school portion, right now, the menu is school management, school parameters. That will be renamed to school setup, and then the school parameters will just be within that. So just a slight name change, but in the same location. And I included a couple screenshots here so you can see on the right the district setup validation. And then I did include at the bottom just one of the sections at the school level. You'll notice there next to each item is a little eye in a circle. So if you hover over that, it will give you a little more information about each of the items, including if it is a required or optional item. And then you'll also notice if there's an item that is optional and not configured, you'll see the yellow warning status that it's not configured. But if it's a required item that is not configured, then you'll get that red missing banner. So again, just at a quick glance, it's nice to see if there are areas that maybe need some additional review. It's a little hard to see, but on the right side, on the district setup in the green area, it says view details. And if you, any of the items that have that, if you click on it, a slider will come out and then it will show you more information about it also right there on the screen, which is really nice. And then each of these items are also hyperlinked. So you can click on class rank, for example, it'll take you right to that page so that you can complete the configuration if it's not ready to go. It also had some resolved issues in 26.5, which this, I think I might have skipped, is scheduled to be released in mid-July, tentatively, but we will send out further communication about that either end of June or early July once that has been finalized so that everyone is aware, but coming soon. So resolved issues in PowerScheduler, just some improved performance, eliminating errors due to result in diagnostic logs. Also resolving a bug where some users were able to access PowerScheduler screens when that was not part of their security settings. So that will also be resolved. Scheduling and registration. If you are scheduling remote pre-registered students, they'll now count in the closed section at max, so it won't overfill. And the automated walk-in scheduler, under modify course schedule, it'll no longer fail to list valid sections for the student. So sometimes that was leading to unexpected results. And then finally, PowerTeacher Pro, the categories shown in review grade calculation page will now accurately reflect the grade calculation formula being used. And I know this comes up a lot. If you unlock a section that is in a locked term, there will be a message that will appear letting the teacher know grades and scores can be entered until the start of that date that you've set for them. So just a reminder that when you've unlocked that they need to get in and go ahead and submit those. Some more resolved issues. So with contacts, I saw a couple tickets come through with this. There was some very strange behavior when using OIDC authentication if The parents group was set up but not enabled. On contacts, when you would open the web account details, you would not see a username. And in other areas where the username, you would expect to see it, it was just a very long string of letters and numbers, very strange. So we had to delete that. The OIDC setup for parents, since typically you're not using that anyway. But that will be resolved also in 26.5. For graduation plans, if you have credits that apply to multiple requirements, any remaining credits from one requirement will be applied to the second requirement. And when looking at the matrix schedule view, it will render correctly if there are terms exist that do not span the correct use. And then I think this is the last resolved issue in 26.5. So currently, if you view the student cumulative info page at the district level, it will look a little strange. It can't be configured at the district level. And so there are some settings at the school level that it couldn't pull over or recognize. But that will be resolved in 26.5. You can see in this screenshot here on the right. It'll pop up a banner and say that the information being displayed is pulling from the student's home school. So moving forward, whether you're looking at that screen from the district office or the student's building, it'll display information as expected. As far as release notes, I did include a link here. So if you want to check those out, we always encourage you to take a look at those. We try to hit the highlights, but there is a lot of information in there, so it's always good to keep an eye on that. And then I do have, I guess, some bonus content, a couple more slides here. Just we wanted to let you know that the main PowerSchool website, it's had a redesign. So I included a screenshot here on the left of just what the new homepage looks like, as well as a pop out if you expand the products menu. So just take some time to check that out. Figure out where all your favorite pages are again. And then the last item here, this is coming soon. Should be later this month. So the PowerSchool community enhancements will be rolling out. So they've shared that navigation will be more simple. They'll have more access to helpful resources, some guided landing pages to walk you through things. If you are signed into your account, there should be some ways for you to tailor your experience in there. And then also they have or will be releasing a PowerSchool assistant. Kind of goes beyond the regular search where you type in a keyword and it, will give you a list of articles that have that term in there. A little bit more like what we've all become familiar with AI. It'll dig a little deeper and give you some context. So I just included an example here on the right. Jason Springle had shared this in the Insider video, but he had asked it, which episodes talk about GPAs. And you can see there, it cited there were several episodes, and then it linked right to those episodes to make it easy to get in there. So just something to try out. Oh, they also have, I put the link there. So it said that they'll continue sharing information on that page that I've linked. And then there is a brief video too, kind of with a little sneak peek if you want to take a look at that. And then my last slide, of course, if anyone has questions, happy to answer those. But then I also just wanted to say thank you and hopefully everybody has a great summer. This year went very fast.
Hey, good morning. It's still morning, so we're going to say that. I'm going to try not to be nervous and talk really quickly because I tend to do that as well. So what's new in the meta customizations catalog for May? We've had some really large projects since our last district leader meeting. Not lots of bug fixes, so we're going to get right into it this morning. Some of our kind of minor bug fixes you might notice on the student pages for the behavior and the incidents, the alerts were not loading, you just got the spinner. So now that's been corrected. And then another bug that we had was for your building level on your data and reporting, if you were in the class roster dashboard, after you would close the doc and then you would reopen it, your current student selection, it wasn't an option anymore. So that has been fixed as well. So 2 bugs you shouldn't see anymore. And as Stephen kind of talked about our test loader builder earlier, our huge project since the last district leader meeting was our historical course grades loader. So it is now complete. It was a big undertaking. Thank you to our dev team. But now all you have to do is just, like the test loader, put a ticket in, and then we can work on getting those historical grades loaded for you. All right, then our meta security audit, we had some enhancements to that. If you go to your system management, security, and your page management, previously you could click on your show all or your refresh button, and now that all just is automatic for you. You don't have to worry about clicking either of those anymore. And then also, so when you would edit your groups, if you'd click in your group of 3, and then you would see your groups come up. When you would change your edit and then you close that doc, before you would have to do a page refresh, now it automatically refreshes for you. So you don't have to worry about that anymore. So our 3 now becomes 4. And then also, so the meta security audit, if you're in a school building, it is also available now. You can get the link from a school building instead of always having to be in district. And it will just take you into that audit. So it doesn't matter if you're in the building or the district, you can go straight to the link from there. I think we covered our log viewer a little bit, but we wanted to kind of talk about this more in depth because it's really handy for everyone. You can see, I use the example of Kevin Alberg here. I want to see when this contact was consolidated. So if I know the last name, I can just put that right into my search. You can see up here, so we've got 2 different examples, right? We have one where Sally did it and then one where I did it. But Sally's shows us here, that's Monica. Sorry if that's hard to see from back there. So I don't want the Monica record, I want the Kevin record. So I'm going to click on the record that I did, and you'll see here that Kevin is now populating here, showing the instance of when he was consolidated. And then anywhere I can click on that line, and it's going to bring up all of the consolidation details for you. So how Kevin previously had his 4 records here, now those records were all consolidated into one. And then you also have the hyperlinks, the blue numbers that can take you back to any of those contact records. So the log viewer, we just feel it's a really powerful tool for you to go back and see. All right, contact cleanup. So if you go to contacts in your contact cleanup, the new feature is to exclude contacts. So we have a district who they've already put in some of their new students for the next year into a holding building. Their contacts are already cleaned up. They don't want to keep those groups, those students, into that new contact cleanup because their contacts are good. So the team has worked on, if you see at the bottom where I have my 5850, and then I click on my exclude contacts up here, then I'm going to get a pop-up box that I can enter the student numbers in. So if you have a list of the students, say after May 1st, those students, all of their contacts you know are good, then you can put all of them in here, they're comma separated. And then once you hit your submit, it will now show you up at your top right in the green. You can see that you have your 1 student. And then now your 5850 for your records is now 5840. So that 1 student was associated to 2 contacts. So you've removed those contacts, so you're not updating anything for them because they're all set, they're good to go. All right, contact cleanup, deactivate. So you can see here, we're thinking along the lines of volunteers that come into your building. So say you have 193 volunteers that came in, you don't necessarily want to delete their contact records, you just want to deactivate them for the year. So if you click on your actions and then you select deactivate, Then you'll go through the deactivate process of doing your create a file and deactivating, and then you're going to deactivate through the data import manager. So then once you've completed the process, then your 193 now are down to 0. All right, one of the things we had a district, well, actually we had a couple of districts asked about for your contact consolidation, your order sequence. So you can see here in our example, you have Daniel Alfonso, and we have 2 records for him. So we have our contact 1 and our contact 3, but contact 1 really doesn't have much information. We want to merge so we have all of that information for contact 3. When we would previously merge, it wouldn't always keep that top record, so it may change your contact order. But now, when you merge those 2 records, it will take all of that information from the 3rd record that you wanted, but it will honor your order sequence. So it'll keep that top order, but it will merge all of that information together. So I see some heads shaking, so it looks like that's a really good thing. Okay, good, perfect. All right, so for people, students, and our student line, some of you may already seen this, but if you have a portal that does not have any fields set up yet, so if you do have fields, you can remove them, but if you have an empty portal and you want to say, I want to just take the information, my styling, my fields from my admin students portal, then you can go down to your copy to field, and then it will automatically populate all of those fields and the styling into that new portal for you. So here, instead of just setting everything up manually, if you want to just change a field or change some simple styling, you can do that here. All right, then our alert builder. We've had some huge things. We had some for last district leader, but we have lots and lots for this. So I'll try to go through kind of quickly. This is our new smart trigger. So as you can see, you have 3 different fields now that you can put information into for your triggers. If you use the in comparator, it now will give you an entire list. So if I'm saying I want grade level in, you can click those grades and those grades will automatically go up to the top for you. And then it'll also show you how many values that you have selected. Then the smart trigger also gives you 2 different comparators of and or. And our new one that is absolutely huge in my mind is the run test. So you never have to leave this page anymore. You can hit your run test feature to make sure that how you have your alert set up is going to populate results. So for the run test, it's going to give you the first 20 results. You are able to sort by columns for this, but it's a great way for you to check, but never have to even leave the page to make sure that your trigger is all ready to go. Some other huge enhancements we had since last district leader meeting is the report builder. As the alert builder has a community, report builder does now as well. So you'll see that our community, you can share your reports. Sorry, the lag on my arrows is throwing me. You can share your reports into the community so other districts could come in. They can download a report. And when you download a report, it's just going to automatically be in your report section here. So you're not downloading it anywhere other than automatically to your district's reports. So then from there, you can just edit and you'll be all set. Some other things were the edit content. They've added in so many different options for styling, for emojis, kind of drag and drop right into this. So when you're putting it into your edit content, then it can automatically come into this really pretty welcome back letter for you. And in the wonderful state of Ohio, we have a new 250th optional seal. If you want this seal for your transcripts, please put in a ticket and we can get it added to your transcript. It will not automatically be there, and it is an optional seal. So if you want it, please just put in a ticket for us. All right, and then another thing for our alert builder, on the pop-up display, it now has a WYSIWYG, so you can see all the different options you can do for your pop-ups. Just crazy amounts of styling that can help you make your pop-up just a little bit more dynamic or a little easier to view for you. Okay, we just wanted to give a friendly reminder, as some things are changing within districts, you all have the customization bundle. We have the report card. It is available to you. We are more than happy. It has come leaps and bounds in the last couple of years. If you're not using the meta report card and you're interested in it, please let us know. We will happily set up a separate call to do a demo with you. We can see what you're currently using and then how we can make the report card work for you. Just some simple things that we can show you with the report card. You can add your district logo or your building logos to the report card. You can do special colorings to match what your school colors are. And then it also has the availability, if you can see my years growing here, you can go back through any of your previous years. So not only can you view them, you can print them. So all that information is right there for you with the meta report card. So just a reminder, if you want to check it out, see where it's at now, let us know. Oh, sorry. And also you can customize this up to 12 fields. So you can put all different kinds of information in the top. And just some catalog housekeeping. So over the summer, there is going to be a large update to the installer. So we are asking you to go in now and make sure that all of your customizations are set through the catalog. So are they enabled? Are they not enabled? The UI is going to honor whatever is set up in your catalog. So we don't want you to have any disruption of service. If the update happens and you don't have these enabled through the catalog, it may not pull over. So we're just asking you to double check any of the customizations that you're using are set to the correct thing here. And thanks to Rich, we noticed that the advanced feature on the Mass Consolidate a couple weeks ago, it wasn't pulling as we would anticipate. So we thought there should be users showing for duplicate contacts there, but it wasn't pulling anything. So after some troubleshooting, we were able to figure that out. So this should be working correctly again. So if you use the advanced settings for the Mass Consolidate, please let us know if you're seeing anything other than you're expecting on that. And along with our Mass Consolidate, an up and coming enhancement just for you to see, you will now have the option to exclude a contact group. So you can see our names here. We have our Haley and Holly. We don't want to include them in a consolidate, so we can exclude them. We all know that sometimes we push the button and we don't mean to. So down the line too, you will also have the option to undo the exclude. So that will be available for you as well, but that'll be coming very quickly to you. So yes, as Corey pointed out from our, I'm not going to scroll back for all those, but we noticed that on the student line for PowerScheduler, the student name was missing. So that is available that you can put in now into your student line.
You have the option to copy the settings from admin. So whatever you had previously, instead of resetting it up, you can just copy it.
So that one.
You can pick different fields if you want.
For the PowerScheduler, it is available right here instead of on our, I just used our public portal, but here is our PowerScheduler option, the new tab here. Anything else? Questions? Okay, perfect. Thank you. I even finished and it's still morning. There we go. Okay, I can hear bellies growling, so I'm going to do this really quickly. Just a few scheduling reminders. We do have still some Tuesday virtual sessions available for about another month. So you can be in the scheduler until June 12th. So just remember that those virtual Tuesdays are still on our calendar. We also do have Wednesdays or Thursdays, depending on where it's at in Marion or Columbus.
as in-person scheduling days. So please, please go in there and encourage your schedulers to come in person if available. If not, again, we can do those virtual sessions. Couple other reminders, check with your schedulers for correct years and term states. Another thing that you might want to check are students enrolled in sections. So just a couple little tidbits of 2 things that you can ask your schedulers. So a few more scheduling reminders. We're just showing you kind of how to get into PowerScheduler, just in case you don't know. Go through applications to PowerScheduler. Check those years and term dates. Are those years and term dates accurate? Those will control your course enrollment dates. So make sure those years and term dates are accurate. A couple reports that are really good to look at is under the PSCB custom reports, the master schedule list, and schedule course enrollments. There you can filter those and you can see those those that are scheduled and not scheduled. So next thing is just with your schedulers, please remember that communication is key. Check with your schedulers regarding those cycle days. Are you an A-day building? Are you an ABCDE rotation building? The calendar setup, some of your schedulers have gone into our life size scheduling trainings. Only one person in the building should be doing those. So you don't want to overwrite each other's work. Okay. So make sure, again, that communication is key with your schedulers. I know that we talked a lot about bell schedules in the past. Check with your schedulers and make sure you're on the same wavelength. Do you have more than one bell schedule that you're going to use next year? Do you have a period that's used for daily attendance? And do you have gaps in times in your bell schedules? Those are just a few things that you need to check with those bell schedules. So if you have any questions regarding that, please don't hesitate to reach out to our team in regards to those bell schedules or cycle days. If you have any questions, obviously we're not going to train that here today, but if you have questions in regards to that, please feel free to reach out. We're going to get this right someday. Okay, so check your validation reports in regards to end of year. So you can go to your meta pre-commit validation for those that are using PowerScheduler. Again, you go, I put the breadcrumbs here on the slide just so you know how to get there, but check those pre-commit validations, see if you have any errors. And if there are errors that are there that you do not know how to clean up, please reach out to us because we will help you do so. Again, we do have one elementary life site scheduling walkthrough coming up on Wednesday, May 20th. That is a virtual session in the afternoon. And then, as always, if you need assistance in scheduling, ps.scheduling.support@metasolutions. So, okay, I think that is it. I don't know if Sally's going to wrap it up here, but
on our agenda, Stephanie is here from Upper Arlington, and she is going to give us an update. This past year, there was the Central Ohio PowerSchool user group that met 3 times, I think 3 times this past year with different topics and things. We attended those. Interested. It was great to be there. It was great to have the invitation to be there. But Stephanie, do you want to go ahead and provide an update?
I just want to invite anyone else who might want to be part of our but if you want to send me your email or to me at lunch and you want to be part of our group, we basically talk about issues like chronic attendance and things that may not be just software related, but they can be related, you know, how are you doing those things? So we'd love to have more people come. We did use the ESC or Meta. That's where we met. But in the bigger picture, we're hoping that we can add more Ohio districts all over the state. That's our goal. But
Thank you, Stephanie. And I just put that in the chat. If you're interested in joining that group for the upcoming school year, you can contact Stephanie Collins at Upper Arlington. That concludes our 25-26 school year May district leader meeting. Thank you all for joining virtually. Thank you all for joining here in person. We appreciate, again, all of your time. We went over a little bit. I'll take the blame on that, but thank you for hanging in there with us. We appreciate it. Everyone, have a great rest of your afternoon.